BBC4 Collections, specially chosen programmes from the BBC archive. This collection traces the BBC's first steps into archaeology programming. More programmes on this theme and other BBC4 collections are available on BBC iPlayer.
Manchester, which has a splendid and varied collection of all kinds of things, as we shall all see very soon. And now to the first object. Here it is. It's a light brown in colour, and Sir Mortimer is just having difficulty in making it stand up. Well, there it is. Now, this is what it is. And now, Sir Mortimer, what is this little personality?
Well, I was sort of feeling, again, that Dr. Rainey knows all about it. He has a knowing look in his eye. He's not going to have it all his own way. There are two finger holes here. On one side, there's a little chap with a grin on his face, and on the other side, there's a little chap looking rather sad for himself. And since, in view of the expression on Dr. Rainey's face, I can't help thinking he comes from the north, from the Eskimos, which Dr. Rainey knows so well. But I don't know, it's pure guess.
Well, I hope I haven't misled you, Sir Mortimer. But I think this is a twisted man. See a little face with a strange little mouth all twisted? And it's a finger mask, I think.
Yes.
Used by the Eskimos.
That's right.
And it represents some spirit, some guardian spirit. Two of them, really. One on this side who's very sour with his mouth turned down. One, this is the twisted man. He figures in the mythology. But the location of it, I think, is more difficult, and perhaps Dr. Bushnell can help me out. It should be Alaska. Should be somewhere along the coast.
Yes.
I'm not sure whether it should be south, Hooper Bay. What do you think?
No, I can't place it more precisely. I mean, beyond saying that it was Eskimo myself. Well, it's extraordinarily like a microphone, actually.
Well, the experts have...
looking sour on this side.
Experts have done very well. That is what it is, an Eskimo finger mask with these two faces, and from Alaska, as Dr. Rainey identified it. Well, now that's 3 marks for the experts for their first object. And now we move to the second one. Here it is. It's also light brown in colour. This is what it is. And now, Dr. Bushnell, what to make of this?
It's a horrible-looking thing. I should think it's probably made of some form of whalebone. But it's all smooth at the top here. And I should think it's been used as some kind of anvil for hammering things out on.
Yes.
But where it comes from, I just don't know.
Is this what you mean, Dr. Bushnell? Where it's been cut here?
No, up on the top.
There. But this is
That's
polished?
a process. That's polished.
Well, if it's
In
marine...
a way, it looks pathological, that.
Does it? It does it to me, because watch, the polishes on both edges here. If it's a sea mammal, it's probably the part of the flipper of a walrus, wouldn't you say? But I'm not sure it's a sea mammal. What do you think?
But Scott, I'm only giving them 1 mark for this because they weren't very sure about what part of what was the anvil. But they got it. It is actually an elephant toe bone, and it comes from an upper Paleolithic level in Creswell Crags in Derbyshire. And the curator of the Manchester Museum tells me that he thinks this is how they were used, actually, with a bone, with a lever put in the hand like that, and then the flakes pressed off like that. I don't know whether that is the actual technique, but it's a fairly convincing demonstration of the result. From Creswell Crags, Upper Pleistocene, 40,000 BC, or some such date as that. Now let's move on to the next object. Here it is. It's light cream brown in color, as everything seems to be in this program so far. This is what it is. And now, Dr. Rainey, it's time you had something to start off with.
Not a serious weapon, no. Definitely not.
What are you saying? A toy pellet gun from the Amazon?
Yes.
But where?
Any reaction to that, Glenn?
You give me a reaction.
Mato Grosso? Brazil?
Well, no, exactly in the Amazon. It's all very much the same as far as that.
I seem to remember seeing something like this before in one of our programs.
Really?
Isn't that so, Glenn?
Well, it must have been when I was asleep.
Ah, quite possibly, quite possibly.
We can agree it's not old. It's something recently made.
Yes, no.
It's all right.
It's modern, well, last century. Is it from the east?
The rattan? What does that do?
Well,
locating it.
Your country didn't draw any fire from Glen at all.
No.
No comment, was there?
No. But it's just this.
Australia?
I mean, if you would find
No.
that it was not from the Amazon, as he suggested,
Yes.
it might be from several other areas. And is there any way of knowing whether it comes from the Amazon or the other areas? I don't think there is.
Well, it must be tropical, must
That's
it?
what I mean.
Yes.
That's the point.
This
I mean,
sort
I
of
think
wrap thing means it's tropical. Where else could it be? The Pacific? Southeast Asia?
No, I think
No.
the right answer is, in the terms of this, the right answer is that it is something that comes from where those materials are available. And I don't think you can say whether it's Amazon or the Southeast Asia or where it
I
actually
think
happens
so.
to come from, which is Central Africa.
Borneo,
I don't
okay?
think you can know. How many marks do you want for that? Doesn't shoot. It doesn't shoot, by the way, a pellet. It shoots a little dart.
Yes.
And I'm going to have the great pleasure of doing something that I wanted to do for a terribly long time, which is shoot something at the studio manager. I can work it. Does it work? There you are, Mr. Day. It didn't go far enough. Well, 2 marks. Shall we compromise on that?
What is it, Glenn?
2 marks. It's actually from Central Africa, and it's a toy gun, as you said. Well, now then, this comes the moment when I leave my seat and we change round with Dr. Rainey.
Well, I hope now, Dr. Daniel, I can return the compliment of some of these objects. And let's have a look at the next one. It's dark brown in color this time. And this is what it is. I don't know just whose turn it is this time, but I'd like to give this one to Dr. Daniel. What do you make of this?
Now, Glenn, don't be nervous.
No,
The
no,
term
no,
isn't
no.
as formidable as you think it is.
No. Well, now, this might be an ethnographical object. It might be almost anything. I'm fairly sure that it's not ancient. It's certainly not prehistoric. I should put it as medieval or later English or an ethnographical object. I don't know which. I should think it's some kind of billhook. Some kind, after it like that.
We
Something
call
of
it
that
bush
kind.
hook?
Bush hook, billhook. What do you think?
It's not an ethnographical object.
You think it's
Oh, no, I don't
Middle
think
English?
so. Middle
Or
English
later.
or even older. I should have
Going
thought.
to put it back?
Yes.
How
It's,
far back?
it's awfully like some of the things that we've got in hordes of Roman ironwork in this country.
Going to put it back to the Romans.
Possibly.
Mhm.
I need some kind of hook of that kind. There are a great many puzzles in those hordes of Roman ironwork.
A Roman billhook?
Well, it is one of those bill hooks which never varied from age to
yeah.
age.
Yes.
It's the use,
Except they don't
Sir
go
Mortimer,
back.
which is very
Yeah.
important here, I think.
Chopping hedges down.
It's a pruning hook for cutting
Pruning hook.
trees or hedges of some kind, I should say. It
What's
could be
the ma-
used with it.
What's the material? Did you say?
Iron. Oh, it's iron.
Iron?
Yes.
Iron.
Can't be old in the Iron Age, then. And you think it's some sort of cutting tool?
Not
What-
used by the Druids for cutting down mistletoe.
Too heavy.
Yeah.
What do you think, Dr. Bushnell, about the age?
I think it's Roman.
Roman.
Yeah.
And no earlier than that.
No.
Well, I suppose it could be early Iron Age, but I don't know one.
I don't
do.
know, no.
Roman or later, I would say.
You like that, Glenn?
Hmm?
Well, it's not so bad, not so bad.
I think we'll stick to that, whatever the museum says then.
But I should be very surprised to find it in early Iron
Yes.
Age context, or perhaps there are a few other.
It's Roman or even later. I don't know of anything like that in the Iron Age, but I do know Roman things like that.
Well, thank you, gentlemen. Let me have a look at it here. I don't know what to quite score you on this. You see, actually, the use was the important thing here, I think. It's a cutting edge to a plow, an iron plow coulter, you see, passing this way and
coulter.
cutting a sod, and then it turns the sod and the plowshare below. And it comes from this Bigbury camp of Iron Age in Kent, but 500 B.C. to 500 A.D., so it's, after all, very close to your Roman times. Now, I think that a fair score on this is 2, since you got very close to the time.
That's far
Yes,
more
we-
generous
we-
than
we-
I should have been. Far more generous than I should
But
be.
you see, I'm a guest here, Glenn. Next time it'll be more difficult. Let me score 2 on this one. That would be 7, 8. And now let's have a look at our next one. The color of this is white and sort of yellow, orange yellow. And this is what it is. Don't you think we ought to give this one to Daniel too? Or should we give this to Bushnell?
Well, he can pass them on.
When I have him in this spot now, it seems to me the thing. We should start out with it.
They don't smell, although they're horrible little things. I think they're attached to sandals, though for what purpose I don't know.
Heels, you
Well,
mean?
of course, they may have been used in some kind of game, though I don't quite see what sort of game. Both worn on the sandals of players in an obscure game.
You mean like the pom-poms on the
That's
Greek
right.
sandals?
Yes, that's it.
Do you like that, Dr. Bushnell?
Not much.
You'd be right, you know.
I don't know what they are. Horrible looking things.
They're used in pairs, obviously.
Yes. yes. No.
What's
Never
that
seen
hole in the
anything
top?
like that.
That's for pushing the top of the bedstead through.
I see. Yeah. I think we really have a puzzler this time. What's the material? Does that help you any?
Well, it's leather.
And chamois.
Yes, some sort of chamois leather, yes. Mm. It belongs to some sort of sophisticated people. I suppose it's one of these horrible folk things.
For all of us ethnographers, that's always difficult, isn't it?
Yes.
Ritual objects used at Christmas.
Beats me.
Rick, you know them?
Yes.
No, I don't think I know
Haven't seen
these
anything
chaps.
like that.
No idea, Rick?
Yeah.
Wait a minute, let me have a look at them.
Somehow it seems to me that ought to be down your line.
Down my line.
Mm. I
What's
don't know
my-
just why.
Well, what is my line? You tell me what my line is.
Oh, I won't now.
Ah. They're very hard.
Holding in the hand when you run? No, of course not.
I must admit,
No
I
pomade in
sympathize
them.
with the panel. I'm glad you're in this position, Glenn, not me at this
Smell,
point.
there's nothing.
No, I think I'm going to give this one up. I don't know.
Well, I think that's probably wise at this point. Actually, you may be awfully surprised at this, but these are boxing gloves worn by fighting cocks.
Yes, yes, yes.
And they come from Lancashire and the last century. You see, these are put on when you're just training your cocks to fight, so they won't hurt themselves. But when you have the real business, the real fights,
Yes.
you have these things put on over the spurs, and then They're really dangerous. But these are to save the cock. I didn't know until this evening that you had cockfights in Great Britain. It's a great...
Well, you're quite right. Sir Mortimer's an expert on this.
That's what I thought. Wasn't that right?
Yes, you're absolutely
Good.
right.
But we always use the spurs, you know.
Well, on this one, I think we can't score the panel at all, I'm sorry to say. So we'll just pass that one up and move on to our next one. This is another kind of light gray in color, stone. And now this is what it is. I must say that there's a mistake in the announcement here. This comes from the Mousterian period, but the date is about 50,000. There's a mistake in the numbers here. We'll have to correct that later. Well, now, I'm afraid I've given you a bit of a clue here, Rick.
Well, had you not said anything, Dr. Rainey, I say it was of the Mousterian period.
Good. But that's very easy for you, Rick.
Yeah.
That's
yes.
not really the problem.
No.
The location of this is the real problem.
Oh, that's rather a geological problem, isn't it?
Mm.
You a geologist, Glynn?
No, but Jeffrey is.
Well, anyway, it's a good deal older than you said.
Mm.
Older than your 50,000
I don't think I've
years.
really given much
No,
away here
no.
because it's the location that really is the problem on this one.
It's made of quartzite, is it?
Yes, yes,
Made
yes,
of quartzite
yes.
and probably doesn't come from England.
I shouldn't think so.
It's a very crude instrument.
Yes.
Could it come from India? Couldn't come from any of the
It might. It
Deccan
might.
gravels or...
It might.
Yes.
But I wouldn't swear to it at all.
Yes.
It's a crude sort of chopping
Crude
thing.
chopping tool.
Yes. It might be
Yes.
older than the Mousterian, actually.
It might come
What
from
do you think?
India or Africa.
It's an extremely crude thing, just made out of a quartzite pebble. They've just
Yes.
knocked one end of it about. I don't think it comes from India. We have a good many in the museum, which they call, are supposed to come from the CERN of India,
Yes.
and they're generally much more deeply stained than this. That's not infallible.
No.
You're thinking of Indochina, the things that are called chopping tools?
Chopper,
well,
choppers?
not
Chop-
into
chopping chopper.
Yes, it's a chopping chopper. Yes,
No, he's thinking of the CERN
of India,
Northwest
more.
India.
Yes,
aren't you?
Northwest India. Yes.
Mhm.
I don't think it's that, but it's an extremely crude thing made of a quartzite pebble.
If it is an artifact, is it
If
made-
it is an artifact, it's a
That's
horrid
what I
thing.
wonder whether it's something large pebble
Yes.
that is broken. I mean, there are no
Yeah.
very clear flaking, but that's the quartzite, isn't it?
I wouldn't guarantee that's made by man at all.
You wouldn't.
No, I wouldn't guarantee
I
it.
Would
agree
you
with that.
locate it, Rick?
No, it's a matter of geology, and I don't profess to be a geologist.
Not the type at all?
It's like those chopping tools of the
Might be a large-
Stone period. It
Yes.
might be 250,000 years old, more like that, easily.
It
You
also
like-
might be a large natural pebble which has been broken in half.
Do you like the Southeast Asia for the location of it? Or you won't commit
No,
yourself?
I'm not going to commit myself. No,
How about
no.
you, Glenn?
I won't commit myself. It might be there.
Well, I can see I didn't give anything away on this one.
Yeah.
You see, actually, it comes from Cresswell, the Cresswell Caves.
Oh, does it?
Yes, from Derbyshire.
Uh-huh.
And there was a mistake in the announcement of this thing.
But is there much Mousterian there?
Well, it's called Mousterian,
Oh.
the Manchester Museum, 50,000 to 100,000 years old. Dug up by Boyd Dawkins at the
Yes,
Cresswell Caves.
But I wouldn't put many shirts on that.
You wouldn't?
No, no.
You wouldn't agree with that?
Oh, I don't think so on the whole, no.
Well, now, I hate to be very severe in scoring this one, but I can't really give you any score at all, mister. You?
No.
You won't argue with that, will you? Well, let's move along to our next one. I think this is the time, as a matter of fact, I should turn it back to Glenn Daniel with great pleasure.
Now, viewers may be amused to know that...
Really.
Well, I mean, if it's for sharpening and something kept in here, it must be a knife rack, mustn't it?
Too wide for a knife? Axe?
An
I
axe?
don't know.
Several knives thrust in here? You sharpen them? put
Skin
them in here?
do? No, I
What's
should.
the loose little pieces in
Oh, that's
here?
just to keep it apart.
Maybe to separate the knives.
That's a piece of curatorial work.
It looks like some of these things you find in the Open Air Museum in Stockholm, where they have in those houses in the Open Air Museum, you know?
Do you think so?
I think so. And to that design here? What do you think? The wood isn't right, though.
It's modern.
Yes, but the wood isn't right. The wood isn't northern at all, is it? It's southern wood, isn't it?
I should have thought
It's
so.
tropical wood.
Jeffrey?
Yes.
That's the wrong lead there,
well,
I'm sure.
It's far more like some of the Dow sheaths that you get in Assam. It's not far from there. It may not be Assam. It may be further down in Burma, something like that.
Could you explain what you mean by that?
A Dow is a sort of is a kind of axe,
Yes.
and they put the head of it into here.
And you say where it was found? You did
Well,
say.
they are very. You get things very like this in Assam. It may
Yes.
be a bit further south. I'm not sure.
Those chaps who don't
it's
wear
somewhere
shoes,
there.
the Nagas
The
use them.
Nagas, yes, it's like the Naga thing.
What do you think, Dr. Rainey?
Well, the design is a little bit... Well, it could be from that area, all right. Sort of cross-hatching. And certainly the wood is all right. You've got split bamboo here, isn't it? I certainly couldn't argue with that.
Here it is, which is grey-black in color. This is what it is. And now, Geoffrey, is this in your line?
Looks like a part of a roller skate, doesn't it?
Very much, yes.
Part of a roller skate.
Not seriously.
No.
It's stone, to begin with.
It's made of stone and it's got a smooth hole through it. It could be a spindle whorl. It's rather heavy for that. But it hasn't much wear around the rim, so I think probably on the whole that's what it is. But where it comes from, I'd hate to say.
You don't think it's a loom weight?
I should doubt that.
It's too symmetrical for that.
I don't think it's heavy enough.
It's kind of a nondescript thing.
It's a nondescript thing, yes.
If it's a spindle, then should be a hole through here
That's
for
all right.
the shaft. That's
Yes.
all. Well, it could be, I suppose, a loom weight. But if it, I don't know why. At any rate, it could be much more practical for that case. I'm afraid this is beyond me. Rick, have you any
Where have we
ideas?
got to so far? It's a loom weight or a spindle whorl?
Or a spindle whorl.
Made
for
of stone.
spinning, yes.
I think it's certainly a spindle whorl.
Yes.
Again.
It is.
Put on a spindle like a flywheel. I can't. This pencil isn't big enough, but to turn round and give impetus to the spindle in winding up the thread.
That could be from anywhere. The southwest of America.
If it's from this country, it's probably about 2,000 years old. I mean, plus and minus. I don't know.
What is it made of?
I thought you were going to ask that.
I'll take your.
Do you mind if I cut a slice off it? I'll just
Yes,
see.
you can, but I'm sure the museum doesn't want you to. I will accept the date of 2000.
Where's the museum curator? Is he looking?
Could you look at the edge? You haven't looked at the edge.
Which edge?
The outside edge.
Yes.
Is it a circular thing?
No.
No.
Oh. It's. I mustn't do that, mustn't I?
No.
I won't do it again.
Couldn't be clever yet.
It's a fossilized something.
Ah, now we're getting somewhere.
A shell?
No, it's not a shell. Wait a minute. It's very heavy. It isn't like an ordinary stone. It's a spindle whorl made out of something.
I've accepted that
yes.
I've accepted that it's a spindle whorl, and I've
Yes.
accepted that it's 2,000 years ago, which I take to be a general date for the early Iron Age. That's what you meant, or something of that kind.
Yes.
But what is it made of? You
He's
said at
trying
first
to-
it was made of stone,
Yes.
and that may possibly be legally correct.
A fossilized, not a shell, but a worm of some sort, isn't it?
No, it's a vertebra of something.
It
It's,
is.
That's what
It
it is.
is. It
Clearly
is.
It's a fossil
Yes.
vertebra.
Yes, it's the
Yeah.
fossilized
Yeah.
vertebra of an ichthyosaurus, and we're going to end this program by having an ichthyosaurus for you to see. I'll give the panel 3 more marks, and see, that has brought us up to 14, but it hasn't really brought us within measurable distance of the 20 that were stuck. Here is the old Ichthyosaurus, and we'll end our program with this fossilized vertebrae and this charming person leering at the panel. Well, now, that's the end of the program tonight. With my assistance, the panel have lost. Our program in a fortnight's time, the challengers will be the Sheffield Museum, and the panel will consist of Adrian Digby, of Hugh Short, and of Edward Wenham, who was formerly editor of The Connoisseur. Until then, with our thanks again to Dr. Rainey and the rest of the panel, good night.